Administration. With the advent of the Mauryas on the political stage of India, bureaucracy developed as a well-organized, hierarchical, cadre-based administrative system. If we rely on the Arthashastra of Kautilya, the establishment of a large and complex bureaucracy was a remarkable feature of the Mauryan government. The Arthashastra of Kautilya mentions 18 tirthas who are probably called Mahamitras or high functionaries. Although the term Mahamitras is used only on a few occasions in the Arthashastra, its real counterpart being Amartya, it is familiar enough in Ashokan inscriptions. In addition to the 18 tirthas, Kautilya provides in some detail accounts of 27 superintendents, adhyakshas, concerned mostly with economic functions and some military duties, though social functions are not ignored. Kautilya lays down certain qualifications for the cadre of high officers known as amartyas, the emphasis being on noble birth. Political ideals in ancient India. Political ideals like liberty, justice, fraternity and nationalism are a product of the modern age. But seen from a different perspective, ancient Indians did have these ideals in a rudimentary form. 1. Freedom. Showing the importance of freedom, the Vedas state that independence is necessary for mankind and those who are not independent are worse than dead. In Varnashrama institution too, an independent living has been kept in mind. A man lived independently during Grihastha ashram, and when he was likely to be dependent on the offspring coming of age, there is the provision of the older people resorting to vanprastha and then to sannyasa, again living freely in the solitude of hills and dales rather than living as dependent on their children. 2. Justice. For disposal of justice, the Mauryan state had a system of judiciary. Dharmasthya was the civil court and Kantaka Shodhana was organized to deal with a large number of economic crimes. 3. Nationalism and fraternity. The early seeds of nationalism can be traced in this instance. Similarly, the ideal of ancient Indian thinkers was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, treating the whole world like a family. This was the concept of universal brotherhood or fraternity. 7. Limbs of state. The state is defined for the first time in the Arthashastra of Kautilya as consisting of 7 elements. These elements are the Swami, the Amartyas, the Janapada, the Durgas, the Kosha, the Danda, the Mitra and the enemy. 1. The king, Swami, heads the list of 7 constituent elements of the state. 2. Amartya generally means the council of ministers. In the Arthashastra, the Amartya constitute a regular cadre of the service from which all high officers such as chief priest, ministers, collectors, officers, envoys and the superintendents of various departments are to be recruited. 3. Territory and population are covered by Janapada. 4. Durga means the fortress. For every state it is necessary to have safety and protection system. Therefore, Kautilya considered the forts as one of the main components of a state. He considers forts as powerful as people and land. 5. Kosha treasury constitutes the 5th element of Kautilya's state. Kosha treasury is necessary for the protection and maintenance of the state in general and army in particular. The treasury should be filled with gems, gold, jewels etc. and should have the capacity to sustain the calamities for long time. 6. Kautilya has described the army, the Danda, as 6th aspect of the state. He has used force word for army. 7. Kautilya's concept of Mitra, ally, is based more in ethical considerations. The real ally should be hereditary and not artificial. It should be one with whom there is no possibility of rupture and one who is ready to come to help when occasion demands it. On the other hand, one is to be treated as an enemy who is greedy, possessed with disloyal subjects, loose character, addicted to mean pleasure, powerless and impotent. Society in ancient India. Society in ancient India had several distinguishing features. It was arranged in the form of 4 varnas. The life of individual was divided into 4 stages or ashramas. There were rules regarding marriage, family etc. The purpose of life was to attain 4 goals called purusarthas. The concept of Purusarthas is the fundamental principle of Indian social ethics. The word Purusartha means attainments or life purposes. The aim of every person is to attain the four noble ends of Purusartha. These four Purusarthas are Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. 1. Dharma. Dharma, or the principle of righteousness, is considered to be the supreme of the Purusarthas. Dharma in Indian tradition is different from the Western concept of religion. 2. Artha. Artha is the second Purusartha. The term Artha refers to worldly prosperity or wealth. It includes all the material means of life. Kautilya maintains that wealth is the basis of human requirements and that social well-being depends ultimately on material prosperity. 3. Kama. Kama means worldly pleasures or sensual pleasures. It refers to some of the innate desires and urges in human beings. 4. Moksha. It is the ultimate Purusartha. Moksha means salvation or liberation from the cycle of birth and death. It is the summum bonum of human existence. The Varnashrama system. Varnashrama dharma, or the dharma of different classes and dharma in the different stages of life. In ancient India, there was a common dharma for all members of society which must be followed by all equally. But at the same time, there were different codes of conduct for different classes or varnas called Varna Dharma. Similarly, it was desired to follow different dharma at the different stages or ashrama of life called ashrama dharma. Varnas. First reference of Varna is seen in the Rig Veda. The 10th chapter of Rig Veda, called Purusa Sukta, mentions the organic theory of the origin of Varnas, according to which Varnas originated from the different organs of the Prajapati or the creator. The four Varnas. 1. Brahmins. Brahmins were at the top of Varna hierarchy. They were believed to possess great spiritual powers. Thus they had a divine existence. In law, they claimed great privileges. Normally Brahmins were exempt from execution, torture and corporal punishment. The main functions prescribed for Brahmins were learning, teaching and priesthood. 2. Kshatriya. The second class was the ruling class described as Kshatriya or Rajanya. Kshatriyas represented heroism, courage and strength. They constituted the warrior class. The duty of Kshatriyas was protection, which had both internal and external aspects. External protection meant to protect the society from external invasion, whereas internal protection meant governance in peace and protection from anarchy. Kshatriyas had the right to possess arms. 3. Vasyas. Vasyas represented the trading and commercial class. Though they were entitled to the services of the priesthood and to the ceremony of Yajnopavita, they were third in the social hierarchy. According to Manu, the main task of the Vashya was to keep and maintain cattle. Later on, Vashyas became economically a very important class of society. The ideal Vashya possessed the expert knowledge of jewels, metals, cloth, threads, spices, perfumes, etc. In this sense, Vashyas were the ancient Indian businessmen. 4a. Shudras. Shudras were at the bottom of the social hierarchy. They pursued the task of serving the other three Varnas. They were not twice born. They were deprived of various rights. They were in fact second-class citizens, on the fringes of Aryan society. 4b. Untouchables. A large number of people were deprived of all human rights. Having any contact with them might lead to the fall from grace by a normal Hindu. They were untouchables. Sometimes they are regarded as the excluded Shudras, whereas sometimes they are called the fifth class, Pancham Varna. Probably, they were the aboriginal tribes who were defeated by the Aryans.